A murder has taken place on a dark and stormy night. A dozen characters are caught up in the crime. The whodunit question floats in the air. Now, what's unique about these dozen characters in the Royal Manitoba Theatre Centre's production of Murder for Two is that they are played by just two actors. And by the way, they also have to play the piano. Murder for Two gets its official opening at the Tom Hendry Warehouse Theatre after a 20-community tour on this Thursday night. But ahead of that, director Chase Winnicky joins me in the Classic 107 studios to tell us more about it. Hello there.
Hello.
So, how confusing is it to direct a dozen characters confined within just two people?
Yeah, well, the funny part is, one person plays the detective the whole time, which is Duncan Cox, and then Melanie White has the great pleasure and challenge of playing all of the remaining characters. Coming up with the blocking for someone switching characters throughout was definitely a tricky challenge, but a fun one.
I would bet. What's your process in the room then with somebody who has to then take on 11 separate characters all at once? What's that like to direct different characters that she's embodying, but also directing her as an actor?
We worked with our movement director, Rebecca Jones, on some physicality for each character, and then Tom Soares is the voice and dialects coach on the project. So each character has their own kind of voice, and some of them have accents, some of them it's just the style of talking, some of it's physicality. But finding all the transitions was setting the blocking first and then talking through why this person comes up, why this one. Some of them are transitions while she's playing the piano. Just kind of setting it and then slowly working through it each day so that it becomes in repetition.
What's it then like for the direction of one person playing one part for Duncan Cox, who's playing the detective? What's that like for him then to receive direction about how to interact with each of these sort of 11 characters as this all goes on and we're trying to figure out who is the real culprit?
There are some fun moments where he kind of is the one that leads, where he'll be like, and now you, and then Melanie will run to that spot. And then there's some moments where Melanie's ahead of it. So it's a bit of a push and pull. The show is truly a duet, like all together. So I've never seen a show like it before, and I've never worked on one like it before.
No, I bet not. It seems like a very, simultaneously, it feels like an interesting balance to strike between like an intimate sort of a two-hander, but also something that has a full ensemble. Which does it feel more like for, maybe let's start, what does it feel like for you as the director putting this all together between those two?
I get, like, you kind of have to think of the ensemble for the most part first. I feel like a lot of my focus, and I did say this to Duncan in rehearsal, I was like, a lot of my focus is going to be on the suspects first, so we can set all of that, and then we'll fine tune as we go once everything's kind of in place. But I don't know if I'm answering your question.
No, you are. No,
okay. You just kind of have to focus on the picture as a whole first, and then once it's all kind of in place, then you can go back and fine tune in detail as you go. Yeah.
What's that experience then like for the audience? If they're watching something, like I think about King James, for instance, which was on stage at RMTC's Tom Hendry Warehouse Theatre before Murder for Two takes the stage. And that's a real two-hander. Two actors, two people. What's it like for the audience to see a similar sort of a layout, but there's this whole wide array contained within?
Yeah. Well, it's funny because I feel like two-handers or even three-handers where people switch multiple characters is becoming more and more popular. I find on the main stage at MTC last year in the Layman trilogy, some of them swapped characters a lot, and there was only 3 actors. And then a couple of the shows at Prairie Theatre Exchange this year, Bed and Breakfast and Killing at La Cucina, had 2 actors playing multiple people at the same time. So it's becoming more and more of a common theme.
Yeah.
And so it's finding the challenge of some of those shows, actors would leave the stage and then come on as a new character, and there would be a costume change. Sometimes it's a physicality. We're using very minimal props for changes, so it's a lot of just swapping as you go, which is also the fun for the audience. So it's takes a second to get on board with it, to be like, what the heck is happening? But then once you understand what the theme is, I think it becomes second nature for the audience, hopefully.
As you're speaking, it strikes me that this is something that is growing in popularity, this idea of people playing multiple characters. I think about Prophecy, for instance, at Theatre Projects Manitoba, which recently closed, where the star and playwright Jessie Ardern was playing 3 separate characters from 3 different Trojan women. Same thing for our friends in the community theater scene as well, and I've seen a couple of projects like that. What do you think's driving this sort of multi-characters within one actor trend that you're observing in your work throughout Winnipeg's theater scene?
I think from a business aspect, it's a lot cheaper. So that is definitely one thing. But I think it's also thrilling as an audience to see, well, it's a challenge for both the actor, because to portray multiple people is a challenge you don't always often get. And for the audience, too, it's fun to kind of see the push and pull and be like, who's coming next? So it's a bit of a thrill, but it's also more affordable.
Sure. There's a bit of a high wire act, it seems. It's like associated. Can they actually keep all these characters straight and also be able to execute the dialogue and the blocking and all the rest of it? So there's something that goes beyond the story just of Murder for Two. This show also had a 20 community tour run recently. What was that experience for you all to see this production be placed in front of audiences? And what will you then take from that experience as you settle into a more permanent home for the next couple of weeks, as opposed to hopping from community to community, setting to setting?
Well, I know it's a lot less exhausting for our crew and our cast, as they're not traveling every day and setting up the set and tearing it down. But I think it was great to take it on the road first, to go to all these different communities who aren't our regular Winnipeg audiences. And obviously through the tour, they've gotten more and more comfortable with different settings and different layouts, because each spot was a different size theater. So that also was a challenge in itself. But so I think it's nice to come home to the warehouse and have our big playing space and all of the full technical elements we can add.
You mentioned the challenges of traveling and also the takedown of the set, both things that are, as you say, now eliminated. What's something, as you all were mounting this on stage for performances, that you were like, oh, that's a maybe difference than how we envisioned it in the rehearsal room? Maybe people gravitated towards a different one of Melanie's characters, perhaps?
Well, I know for myself with setting the show, it was a fun challenge in trying to come up with blocking that would work with multiple venue sizes and having to come up with different versions of the set, which Adam Parbu Singh designed our set, and he came up with one that was very malleable and able to move in different settings, and now it's finally found its setting fully at the warehouse. But so it's a fun challenge of just really staying present and really being able to play, and I think the actors have really found on the road, they would have their quick pre-show where they would just be like, okay, this happens here, we'll block that there, this goes there. So they know the show inside and out.
I would bet, given the fact that they have to be inside so many different, well, for Melanie's case, to be inside so many characters all at once. What do you take away from this experience, maybe first as a director, for having this sort of unique directorial challenge into your next projects, and as you keep on building your sort of creative skill set? Well, I think on this specific one, both our creative team and our cast, which also included Paul Rodermond as our music director, it was such a group effort, I think more so than most shows are, just because we're also only the second Canadian production, and there was nothing to draw from other than a cast recording. So it truly is our staging of it, which is a fun challenge. And a lot of it was going with our ideas and figuring out where the underscoring happens in specific moments, or so it was a lot of the best answer in the room always wins between the actors and the team. And at a certain point, you kind of have to just let the actors live in it for a while before you can get nitpicky. So that was a fun challenge. But it was one of the best rooms I've ever been in. So I think it truly was just a team effort. That's saying something, though, as well, considering that you're somebody who's also an active actor around the city. Maybe people have saw you in Waitress as an example recently. Speaking of other RMTC rooms, what do you draw from the experience of directing this show with all of its unique challenges then into your other artistic facets?
Well, it's remembering your place in the room, I think, is always when you're going from actor to director, because you do hold a different position. It's a lot less pressure as the actor because you just focus on your one thing, whereas the director, you're on all touch points of the production. I think specifically going from Waitress into this show, both shows were so props heavy that I think that was a nice warm up into like, oh, right, yeah, we need to remember where everything is at all moments. Because if people saw Waitress, there was about 40 pies, which we have 3 of them in our show. So we got to reuse a couple of those. But yeah, just really remembering each moment and where everything lives the whole time.
Seems like a real case study in perspective, not only for people who have to play multiple roles as one person, but also for yourself to be able to know what lens you are holding in a particular creative space. Audiences get to see the results of that creative space in Murder for Two starting on April the 3rd is the official opening night at the Tom Hendry Warehouse Theater. We'll have more information up at our website, classic107.com, and the Classic 107 app so you can grab your tickets for this not-to-be-missed show. Director Chase Winnicky, thank you so much for joining us in the Classic 107 studios to tell us more about it.
Thank you so much for having me.